In 2020, it was just such a blur in hindsight. I got a call to say, look, hey, the football team's trying to figure out how to play sport. Like, what do they do? And that sort of evolved to, here are the safety measures that we need to make this work. Here's the investment that we're going to make to demonstrate that we can do this the right way. That we're not just going to sort of throw caution to the wind and not care about COVID. We carried that through to play some sport. But I'll look back at that time incredibly proud of saying God, I had something to do with a sport that I still don't really understand the rules of. I ironically still remember actually the day before New Year's in 2019, reading an email update about some virus that was causing some trouble in China, and without the wildest dream of what we'd all career our way through. And I guess, I'd always had this sort of somewhat amorphous role here of being someone who would try and help both the university campus and the hospital if issues arose. I'm pretty proud of what the university and lots of colleagues were able to figure out, because I really do think we sort of, I'll look back on it and think that we held up our sort of three missions of educating, teaching, and good clinical care, and did that pretty well. Left with a lot of pride. Well, I grew up in Australia, so it's quite different. I grew up in a small inland town where my parents were born and their parents grew up. The Duke name was well known for, there'd been quite a long established relationship of exchanging fellows and faculty on sabbatical time with Melbourne, where I was training. I came as a fellow, so I was sort of at I was at a level where I was still learning my craft. Heck, I'm still learning it now, let's be honest. I think academically, I've been offered more opportunity here than I could have wildly imagined, to be totally frank. And at the same time, much of the curiosity and complexity of immunology, microbiology, social issues that were coming up in HIV as I was training were also then presenting themselves to me in transplant. And it sort of gave me this nice little chance to sort of pivot a little bit and do some transplant training. And actually now that's probably what I spend most of my time doing, although it wasn't anything that I thought I would see. But I would say that was a Duke advantage in allowing me those opportunities. Duke was very forward, to be honest, about being willing to be engaged in our transplant programs with transplantation for both recipients who are HIV positive and, frankly, their organ donors. It's been pretty humbling, frankly, to see that sort of roll out, and that's going to be my one task in the rest of my career, is to work towards a situation where that's normalized. Obviously my support system to get into medicine was huge, with two parents who were both high school teachers and both worked their tails off, I would say, to get myself and my sister through college and support us. I owe them more than I can repay them. I came here as a single guy, and I met a woman who's now my wife, and she's been a support every evening when I come home and need to decompress, or during long months of 2020 when I sort of felt like I hardly saw my kids during a pandemic. That was very front and center on her. She's one of our faculty too, so was not immune to going through some of the same challenges that I was, but sort of took that on her shoulder. I owe Sarah a whole lot of all of what I am. You can't do this alone.